Raya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatari Shatari Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Radha Radhanatha Radha Radhanatha Radhe Jaya Giri Govardhan Giri Govardhan Giri Govardhan Jaya Giri Govardhan Jaya Gauranitai 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 Jai Gauranitai Jai Jai Prabhupada 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 Jai Jai Prabhupada Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jaina Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadam Mayam Vidati Swapadantikam Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopik Kanta Radhikanta Namasate Tapti Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Brindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusate Devi Pranamami Haripre Vanchakalpa Tarubhescha Kripa Sandhvevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Hare Krishna dear devotees. So today we're doing analogy 8 of the Light of the Bhagavat, and the analogy goes as follows. The colorful greenery of the newly grown grass, the seasonal flowers, the frog's umbrella, The butterflies and other variegatedness of the rainy season perfectly represent a well-to-do family absorbed in vanity over their personal assets. So, Paramatma Prabhu, maybe you can read the purport of this verse, this analogy.
I'm sorry, I don't have the book in front of me, Maji. If you can share screen, you can read.
Okay, let me just go there. 1 second.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, I cannot share because you are sharing that screen. So okay, I'll read it. I'll read it. It's fine. I'll just go there and read it. I'll get it on the internet. No problem. So we'll read the text one more time and then the purport. The colorful greenery of the newly grown grass, the seasonal flowers, the frogs' umbrellas, the butterflies, and other variegatedness of the rainy season perfectly represent a well-to-do family absorbed in vanity over their personal assets. So purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. A rich man displays his opulence in various colorful ways. He has a good residential bungalow with sufficient property and a well-trimmed garden. The bungalow is decorated with up-to-date furniture and carpets. There are motor cars with dazzling polish and a radio set receiving and broadcasting colorful news and melodious songs. All these captivate their proprietor as though he were in a dreamland of his own creation. When the same man was as dry as fallow land and had none of these opulences, he was plain in behavior. But since obtaining all these material means of enjoyment, he has forgotten the principle that everything in the world comes and goes away like changing seasons. The beautiful Red Fort and the Taj Mahal were built by Shah Jahan, who left the place long ago, and many others have also come and gone in the same place, like seasonal flowers. Material assets are like seasonal flowers only. Either the flowers wither or the gardener himself leaves. This is the law of nature. Therefore, if we want permanent life, knowledge and bliss, we must seek them elsewhere, not in changeable, temporary, rainy seasons, which is flooded with so many varieties of pleasing sights that vanish when the season ends. Material manifestations of things are but shadowy representations of reality. They are compared to mirages in the desert. In the desert, there is no water, but the foolish deer runs after illusory water in the desert to quench his thirsty heart. Water is not unreal, but the place where to seek it is misleading. The advancement of materialistic civilization is just like a mirage in the desert. The deer runs after water in the desert with full speed, and the illusion of water moves ahead at the same speed as a foolish deer. Water is not false, but we must not seek it in the desert. A living entity, by his past experience, remembers the real happiness of his original spiritual existence, but since he has forgotten himself, he seeks spiritual or permanent happiness in matter, although this is impossible to achieve. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we'll just try to say something on this verse. We see that Srila Prabhupada compares the colorful spectacular of spring with its flowers and green grass to a well-to-do family. Their assets like bungalow or big house, car, sound systems that blast loud music to show off to their neighbors. He states that this is a season in their life, as we know from experience, that these seasons come and go. So this is a season in their life where they are well situated, right? And probably accumulate a lot of wealth as well. And they basically show it off to their to the people around them, relatives, friends, family, neighbors, like this. So all of these captivate the proprietor as though he were in a dreamland of his own creation. But this is the absolute truth. He is in his own dreamland, and Maya has placed him there. She is pulling the strings, and he is like the puppet in her hands. All because he wants to enjoy the things of this world, like what this world has to offer him, right? So all these amenities that he acquires from material nature, he wants to exploit and he wants to enjoy for his own sense gratification. So all of these things are actually palliatory and temporary, and it lasts as long as the body lasts, right? Or less maybe. They are very insignificant compared to the spiritual world, what the spiritual world has to offer. People in this world want to hear sweet words, want to dance to nice music, and want to celebrate life. But we see that in the Brahma Samhita, the spiritual world is described like this in text 56. I'll just basically recite this verse to you. Shriyakanta Kanta Parama Purushaha Kalpataravo Drumas Bhumis Chintamani Ganamayam Mayitam Tayam Amritam Kataganam Narcham Gananamapi Vamsi Priyasakihi. So I won't go through the whole, don't sing the whole verse, but I'll just try to explain. So the verse translation goes as follows. I worship that transcendental seed known as Svetradip, where as loving consorts, the Lakshmis in their unalloyed spiritual essence practice the amorous service of the Supreme Lord. Krishna is their only lover, where every tree is a transcendental purpose tree, where the soil is purpose gem, all water is nectar, every word is a song, every gate is a dance, the flute is its favorite attendant, effulgence is full of bliss, and the supreme spiritual entities are enjoyable and tasty. Where numberless milk cows supply oceans of milk, where there is eternal existence of time, who is ever present and without past or future, and hence is not subject to the passing away even for the space of half a moment. That realm is known as Goloka only to a very few self-realized souls in this world. So this is a translation by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada's spiritual master, and we can see how he actually puts things, right? Like he says, the living entities are enjoyable and tasty, which actually means that they are so relishable just to look at and just to associate with. So let's take it from another perspective. where we see that every step is a dance, every song is a word, and every gate is a dance. This is what we are hankering for, right? And that is why people, they go to nightclubs and discos in order to dance and enjoy like this. They want to enjoy sweet music, right? They want to dance and they want to pass their time like this in a very enjoyable mood. But this is there in the spiritual world as well, where every step is a dance, every word is a song, and every gate is a dance. So every gate means like, your movements is like a dance. So as I said before, this is what we are hankering for. Why? Because nobody likes to die. Everyone wants to live forever. Why does everyone want to live forever? Because the soul is by nature eternal. Everyone wants to be happy. Why? Because that's the nature of the soul. The living entity, you are basically always in bliss, blissful and happy, right? So in the Brahma Samhita, it is stated that the living entity is Satchidananda, transcendental, full of knowledge and full of bliss. And when we come into this world, we are engaged in this body and we are searching for that, that's our real nature. And we are searching for it in all, in matter basically, and we're not going to get full satisfaction from that. So the living entity, you and I, did have this experience before. We were in the spiritual world and we have fallen into this material world. This is our intrinsic quality as spirit souls, because we were once dancing with Krishna in the spiritual world. We all also want to hear sweet music. Why? Because all the residents of Vrindavan are always glorifying God and Krishna with songs. Every word is a song. All water is nectar. We were accustomed to only drinking nectar. Therefore, people of this world is searching for the nectar in the wrong places, like alcohol and other intoxicating beverages. Right? In the spiritual world, there is Varuni, an intoxicating beverage that is just like nectar, not made from rotten grapes, like in this material world, right? Wine is nothing but rotten grapes. So this Varuni oozes from the trees, right? And comes like honey. And we see that in the pastime of Lord Balaram, the gopis and all the basically the gopis, they were drinking, and Lord Balaram actually he drank this Varuni and he became intoxicated, right? And we won't go into that pastime. That's a very beautiful pastime, but we won't go there. Srila Prabhupada says in the purport that the cars are dazzling, right? They're with dazzling polish. The cars of this material world are just like toys compared to the spiritual world. The spiritual world consists of Vyamanas, or flying airplanes made of flowers, not like metal like what we have here. Or they have the ability to fly by themselves, the residents of the spiritual world. They can go wherever they like because they just think of, the place where they want to go, and they can go because they have the ability to basically like fly. Like Narada Muni, he can go wherever he wants, and therefore he is called the transcendental spaceman, right? Because he can go wherever he likes. The palatial buildings are like the Red Fort and the Taj Mahal are like monuments created for sentimental value and are subjected to destruction sooner or later. Right. So this basically the Taj Mahal was erected, in honor of the Queen of Shah Jahan when she left her body, right? And it's like a monument now because it's you know, it's for a person who has long left us, basically. So this was to show his love, you know. That is how he created this Taj Mahal. We see in the spiritual world, the houses are made of touchstone or spiritual gems that can fulfill all one's desires. Touchstone is like a wish fulfilling stone. Whatever you touch it to turns into gold or turns into some precious jewel. So these are assets. So these assets are for real in the spiritual world. Here, it's just a reflection. Srila Prabhupada uses the analogy of the deer that runs after the mirage in the desert, thinking it to be water, right? But the further he runs, the further the mirage goes also. And, you know, and he thinks that I will get water. And eventually he dies because it's out of thirst, it basically leaves its body. But we know that it's just a reflection of the sun on the sand, right? The mirage, it's just a reflection of the sun on the sand, which glistens. And, you know, it looks like water, but it's so illusory. It's not water. In the Bhagavad Gita, in chapter 15, Srila Prabhupada uses at least Lord Krishna uses the example of the banyan tree standing on the banks of the river. Its reflection is in the water and it is compared to this material world. The real tree exists, but we are touching only the reflection and thinking it to be real. You know, like the tree is on the bank of the river and the reflection is in the water. And if we go and touch the water, right, thinking it to be the real thing, you know, it's just false, right? You'll only get water in our hands. So this material world is a reflection of the spiritual world. When we hear of the spiritual world, we think that it's a figment of one's imagination, you know. We don't believe in it. Why? Because we are so accustomed to matter that we cannot perceive of anything spiritual, although we are spiritual beings by nature. So I wanted to read Bhagavad Gita, the purport. So let me just go there, right, and read the purport and see what Prabhupada has to say in that purport.
Hare Krishna Mataji, sound check. Hare Krishna, is everyone still there?
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, I think we lost
Hare
Mataji
Krishna
sound.
Prabhu.
Hare Krishna
Sorry,
Prabhu.
I thought it was just me. I think Mataji is gone on mute for a while. Hare Krishna. In the meantime, does anybody want to share any comments or questions?
Hare Krishna, can you hear me?
Hare Krishna Mataji. Yes, we lost you for a while there.
Oh, okay. Okay, it won't be long. 1 second.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, chapter 15. The Supreme Lord said, it is said that there is a imperishable banyan tree with its roots upwards and its branches down, and whose leaves are the Vedic hymns. One who knows this tree is the knower of the Vedas. The branches of this tree extend downward and upward, nourished by the three modes of material nature. The twigs are the object of the senses. This tree also has its roots going down, and these are bound to fruitive actions of human society. Then texts 3 and 4, the real form of this tree cannot be perceived in this world. No one can understand where it ends, where it begins, and where its foundation is. But with the determination, one must cut down this tree, the strongly rooted tree, with the weapon of detachment. Thereafter, one must seek that place from which, having gone, one never returns, and there surrender to the Supreme Lord, from whom everything began and from whom everything has extended since time immemorial. For those who are free from false prestige, illusion, and false association, who understands the eternal, who are done with material lust, who are freed from the dualities of happiness and distress, and who, unbewildered, know how to surrender to the Supreme Person, attain to the eternal kingdom. Then text 6, Krishna says, that supreme abode of mine is not illumined by the sun or moon, nor by fire or electricity. Those who reach it never return to this material world. So I just wanted to read some purport of text 3 and 4. Let's just go there and see what Srila Prabhupada has to say. So he starts off by saying that it is now clearly stated that this real form of the banyan tree cannot be understood in this material world, since the root is upward and the extension of the real tree is at the other end. When entangled with material expansions of the tree, one cannot see how far the tree extends, nor can one see the beginning of this tree. Yet one has to find out the cause. I am the son of my father, and my father is the son of such and such a person, etc. By searching in this way, one comes to Brahma, the creator, who is generated by Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. Finally, in this way, when one reaches the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that is the end of his research work. One has to search out that origin of this tree, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, through the association of persons who are in knowledge of the Supreme Lord. Then, by understanding, one becomes gradually detached from the false reflection of reality, and by knowledge cut off the connection and actually become situated in the real tree. The word asanga is very important in this connection, because the attachment for sense enjoyment and lording it over material nature is very strong. Therefore, one must learn detachment by discussion of spiritual science based on authoritative scripture. And one must hear from persons who are actually in knowledge. As a result of such discussion, in the association of devotees, one comes to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then the first thing one must do is surrender unto him. The description of that place whence, having gone, one never returns to this false reflected tree is given here. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is the original root from whom everything has emanated. To gain the favor of that personality of Godhead, one has only to surrender. And this is the result of performing devotional service by hearing, chanting, etc. He is the cause of the extension of this material world. This has already been explained by the Lord himself. Aham sarvasya prabhava. I am the origin of everything. Therefore, to get out of the entanglement of this strong banyan tree of material life, one must surrender to Krishna. As soon as one surrenders unto Krishna, one becomes detached automatically from this material extension. So we see here how Prabhupada is very nicely explaining this verse, that one has to surrender unto the Supreme Lord, and by surrendering to Krishna, then one gives up his attachments to this material world, right? His assets, his people that he's very closely attached to, his bank balance, whatever he has, whatever is dear to him, he gradually gives it up, and he surrenders to the Supreme Lord at every step. And in this way, he cuts off his attachment to this material world. So when one cuts off his attachment to this material world, then he no longer thinks, that he's no longer afraid of death, because he knows that when he leaves his body, he's going to the spiritual world to associate with the Supreme Lord. And therefore he has no fear of death or of anything related to this material world. He's not attached to anything here. So I just want to read something or say a few things on Bhaktitirtha Swami. Bhaktitirtha Swami says in his book, The Leadership, that we need to go deeper by pretending. He says that just as we've been pretending for millions of lifetimes that which we are not, and that we are this material body, right? Originally, we are eternal spiritual beings, but because we are encaged in this body, we think that we are this body, right? But actually, we are eternal beings full of knowledge and full of bliss, as I quoted that verse previously from Brahma Samhita, Sachidananda Vigraha, right? But we have pretended so much that to such a degree that we have forgotten our original consciousness, and we have adopted this pretentious behavior. Now, in order to resume our original consciousness, we have to pretend to adopt the principles of bhakti to be situated in our original consciousness. Exactly like a child playing with a doll and a dollhouse. In time, when she grows, she can have her own baby and a house with a kitchen and the works. Little girls, they always like to play with dolls, and then they may ask their parents, their mother, for some dough, and they want to make roti, and they want to play with the dough, right? And like this, they want to feed the family members, right? They want to bathe and dress the doll up, right? So but when she grows big, she no more takes the doll. If you give her a doll, right, to play with, she'll say like, what is this? I want my own baby, right? And eventually, in due course of time, she has her own child. And yeah, so at first, when she's a child, it's like a pretense, right? Then when she grows, it's for real. So one example, Srila Prabhupada asked, or someone asked Srila Prabhupada, what if I don't like paying obeisances? This is what Bhaktitirtha Swami says in his book, that what if I don't like paying obeisances, And Srila Prabhupada said, no, you must do it anyway, because by pretending, this will gradually lead you to heartfelt emotions. So just by pretending to do something that's right will actually bring about heartfelt emotions, right? So because you're doing the right thing. Whatever we did in the past, good or bad, doesn't matter. At the present moment, we have the ability to correct the situation. Are we going to flow with Krishna's love, or allow the mind to turn to his separated energies and be swept away by Maya, or by the phantasmagoria of this material world? right? When I say phantasmagoria of this material world is just like an illusion, and we've been explaining it all this while with the example of the banyan tree, right? Srila Prabhupada in the previous verse says that we should not be caught up with the extravagance of this material world. In the previous verse 2, the analogy 7, actually, he says that we should not be caught up with the extravagance of this material world, but we should stop for a moment and introspect. What on earth am I doing here in this material world? Who am I? Where am I going after the charade of being absorbed in the vanity of this material world? Right, so we should question like this. And he says only an intelligent person will question as to why he is suffering in this material world. And most people don't think that they are suffering. They think that there's always scope for enjoyment. But we know that this material world is designed to make us suffer. And we're not going to get any permanent happiness in this material world, no matter how hard we try. And people have been trying for millions and billions of years, right? But they haven't come up with any conclusion. So with this, I'd like to conclude my talk today. And thank you very much for listening. If you have any questions or you'd like to contribute to this talk, you're most welcome to do so now. Hare Krishna. Paramatma Prabhu, anything?
No, Mataji, thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Shaman?
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
I just have, I'm not sure if it's a question or a comment, or, but I just want to ask you something. Okay, because we come from the spiritual world, which is opulent, all right? Is it in our nature to want to be like that?
Yes, because we have come, we have that experience. We do have that experience because we're coming from there, right, to this material world. This material world is like a prison house. So when you default, you know, in the country, then the government puts you into the prison for you to rectify your mistakes. So similarly, this material world is like a prison house. And because we have defaulted in the spiritual world, we have come here to rectify ourselves and go back. So therefore, we have that experience, you know, of enjoyment, of eternality. Basically, we don't want to die. Everyone is scared of death. Nobody wants to die. Because why? Because the soul is eternal, right? So therefore, nobody wants to die. So we have that experience. Now, therefore, we behave like this, you know. So, but now because we are identifying with the body, and the body is subjected to birth, death, old age, and disease, it's going to go through that. Every person's body is going to go through that. No, you don't find a person who is living eternally. Everyone has to die at some point. The body has to die. But it's only the soul that's eternal, and the soul will go back to the spiritual world.
Okay.
Benson, anything from you?
No.
Long since we've spoken, you know that?
Yes, long time.
Kajuta, Mataji?
Hare Krishna, dear Mataji. Thank you very much for wonderful class. I haven't questions, but I can tell you a real story from my life. 32 years before, I had diabetes, and I made a clinical test like this. And I saw my soul separated from the body, how I move up and up, and I saw my family very sad and crying, and I can't understand this. And after I enter in light like a tunnel, and of course maybe it was the spiritual world. When I arrived was only love, and lights and something very, very beautiful everywhere. Love is here. Not love directed to somebody or some object, only love and blissful and happiness. And I heard the voice. I didn't see the Lord, but I heard His voice explain to me that it's not time for me to come there because I have some duties here. I must finish my university, and I shall have 4 children exactly like happened. And these children are his children, and they are more elevated than me, and we must teach from these children. And when I return back, only depression here, and I can confirm you that this world is real. It's not an illusion or something written in the scriptures. Is real, and is our natural soul to be blissful, to be in happiness, to be in love, and we maybe we will return one day there. This I want to story to you. It's very confidential. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, sound check, Mataji.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, Mataji, you were on mute just now. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. Sorry about that. Yeah, I was just saying thank you so much, Kajuta, for sharing that with us. It's such a beautiful experience that you had, being in the spiritual realm, and then you had, because you had some duties to perform, Krishna sent you back here, right, to perform your duty, and that duty is to save other souls and take them back home, back to Godhead. That's why he sent you back here. So just bear that in mind, right? So thank you very much for sharing that. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
If we don't have any more, I
Mataji,
can't.
sorry, Mataji, there's a comment in the chat box.
Yes, read
from
it.
Mataji. Mataji is saying, if I'm Nav Kishori, Mataji. She said, Hare Krishna, dear Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you for the beautiful class. I love Banyan Tree example. Remember Bhakti Shastri course assignment, an example of paying obeisances to Srila Prabhupada, which is Holiness Bhakti Chaitanya Swami Maharaj, always giving very nice, beautiful topic. Thank you, dear Mataji, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam to you, Mataji. Paramatma Prabhu, I cannot see all who is there. Can you, maybe somebody else can share their realizations? That'll be very nice.
We have Nalini Sugala Mataji and Yasodharani Mataji.
Oh, very nice, very nice. So would you like to share anything?
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare
It is just
Krishna.
in my experience that I think people who think that they are intelligent are actually ignorant because of the pull of Maya Devi. And they think that what they have defines them. And it makes them so vain to the point that they actually lose their identity instead of trying to realize what is God, who is God, and how to approach God. And today's topic was absolutely interesting. Thank you very much for that, Mataji. I really enjoyed it. That is just my tiny little contribution. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much for that, Nalina Mataji. We see that although you are in so much of pain, Mataji had an accident recently, and she's in so much of pain, but still she's contributing to our class. Thank you so much, Mataji. I really appreciate that. Anything
Thank
else?
you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yashoda Mataji, would you like to share something? You can unmute and speak. Okay, if not, we can just have a little kirtan and
Hare
close.
Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you for such a beautiful class and beautiful examples. I always heard about you, and I love to hear from you all the time. And I like this topic is very much related to our material desires. We are going in and in like frog in a well. So
Yeah.
yes, our devotional practices and like you as a senior devotees and like Maharaj, with the guidance of Maharaj also we can come out from these material desires by slowly practicing and always follow in the Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for that, Navkishore Mataji. Yes, we should follow the great acharyas in our line, and especially Srila Prabhupada, in order to get out of this entanglement in this material world, right? So we see that there's so much of entanglement here, to our own spouses, to our own children, to our own, to people who are brothers and sisters. We are so caught up in this material world. But by taking up to Krishna consciousness and gradually, we detach from all of these things, right? Because it is stated that when you go back home, back to Godhead, you shouldn't have any attachments to this material world. If you do have some attachments to this material world, you're going to come back here, right, and fulfill that attachment. So yes, thank you so much for bringing that up, Mataji. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mataji. And I remember another one for chanting also, like of paying obeisances. So sometimes we don't like to practice 16 round also. So Bhakti Chaitanya Swami Maharaj also was telling you have to do it. So you must do it 16 round per day, every day. So I'm remembering all the points, the one you are giving examples, all flashback in my mind also. So thank you so much for reminding that all the examples. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yes, it is stated that, we don't like to chant Hare Krishna. When we pick up our beads, the mind gives us problems, and sometimes we don't feel like chanting Hare Krishna, but we should do it anyway. Why? Because that in itself will purify us, because Krishna's names are so purifying that it penetrates the heart and it removes all the misgivings in the heart. So yes, we should chant our 16 rounds, even if we don't have taste. At the beginning, it's like, we are basically in a disease condition. When a person is diseased and they have jaundice, they don't taste anything sweet. They taste it to be bitter. But so it's just like that. We are tasting the holy names to be bitter. But by chanting our 16 rounds, we get the taste for the chanting and it becomes sweeter and sweeter. So yes, thank you so much for bringing that up and sharing that, Mataji. Really appreciate it. So I think we're running out of time. So we'll stop there now, Paramatma Prabhu. And if any of you would like to do the last kirtan, we're most welcome to. Who would like to chant? If not, then we'll just chant maybe for 2 minutes and we'll end there. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. Vanchakalpa Tarubhescha Kripasindhavevcha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna everyone.